So it's review time again, and it's another one of the new cars from the Money Fronts DLC, and that's the LSCM Cheetah, which is basically the Widebody Cheetah. First things first, God, this thing looks good. This thing looks like super good. And you may have noticed that at this point, this is where I normally go into, you know, the kind of RT style fly-through shots, but I forgot, right? I forgot. But luckily, I did remember further around the lap, so here it is, so we can have a look at what it looks like. It is an absolutely stunning car. It's based on the Liberty Walk kit for the Ferrari 512, or you might also know it as a Testarossa. And other than that, there aren't many differences between this and the standard Cheetah, which is actually also on offer this week. And if you want to see my original video on the Cheetah, I'll put a link to that up here. I've just rewatched that myself. I forgot how much work I put into that, so that's definitely worth watching if you want to go and have a look at that one. There is one big difference between the two though, and that is the customization. Because yes, they have given us the widebody kit for this, and it does look absolutely stunning. But that's it. This is just like the Jester RR widebody in that, yes, they give you the lovely wide kit, but nothing else. At least you can take the livery off on this one straight away. But there's nothing else you can do. You can change the colour, you can change the wheels, and you can do the engine upgrades and all that kind of stuff. But visually, there are no aesthetic upgrades that you can add to this. And I think that's a real shame, because I really don't understand why they keep doing this. They have Bennies, and Bennies was originally conceived for things like wide body conversions and super customization, and yet the last two wide bodies that they brought into the car, they've added as a new, very expensive car with practically no customization whatsoever. Now, I did try to have a look into why I think this might be, and I did an absolute solid 15 minutes of science on this, and I found this clip from the Rockstar archives from one of their training programs for GTA Online updates.
If something's hard to do, then it's not worth doing.
Well, let's clear that up.
I think they can't be bothered to use Bennies for these kind of upgrades anymore, because when you look at the upgrades that you can apply through Bennies, they go way beyond the wide body kits. All sorts of extra stuff, different interiors, different types of wheels, customization options everywhere. So yeah, as Homer says,
if something's hard to do, then it's not worth doing.
So I think this is it. I don't think we're ever getting another Benny's vehicle again, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that these wide body ones are wrong. So now I need a track to try this on. And luckily this week I've been given the perfect track, because Hippy has created Dunsfold Park.
Who that?
Dunsfold Park, I hear you say. Yep, not familiar with that one, never heard of it. Well, you might know it as the home of this.
And
this.
Here's Chicago. Who's looking a bit lively through there.
And this. Yeah, it's the Top Gear test track.
That's looking very good.
C'è troppo rumore.
There's too much noise.
The fastest lap ever done during the original series was done by the SF90, which in the game is the Italic RSX. So let's set this one in as a benchmark. So you can see here, this is the time we've got to beat. So if we drag the LSCM Cheetah on, and let's see if it can beat its younger brother. Now I suppose I ought to try and do my Clarkson style commentary for this. Now interestingly, he was actually born in the same town as me, literally about 5 or 6 miles away from where I live. So I guess we'll see if that strange intonation in his voice is something that's unique to him, or whether it's something that just comes with the area. And we're off, and even though it's a great start, I'm still really regretting that last joke. So it's a little bit loose as we come round the curve and towards Chicago. Fairly neat through Chicago, but as we barrel down to the hammerhead, this is one that I expect to catch it out. And no, actually surprisingly neat through the hammerhead. And as we shoot off up towards the tyre wall now, and I think we're going to get a very disappointing camera angle. yeah, that wasn't quite as dramatic as I hoped. As we go around second to last and into Gambon and over the line. And this is the time we managed to do. And yeah, I don't think the Top Gear team have anything to worry about. I'm not coming for their jobs anytime soon. So moving on to the top speed. Again, another thing you probably noticed a bit of a theme here. This car isn't actually all that quick. In fact, if anything, it feels slightly slower than the normal Cheetah. But that isn't necessarily reflected in the lap time, although I did look back at my previous lap in the normal Cheetah and it wasn't as clean as this one. So I think they're either practically the same, or if anything, the older one may be a touch quicker, because the older one did pull a slightly better top speed than this. Not much, but it was slightly better, a few miles an hour better than this. So is it worth buying, and is it worth 2 million? Two very tricky questions. So, is it worth buying? Absolutely, based on looks alone. If nothing else, it just looks stunning. I've not been particularly imaginative with this. I've just copied the images from the Liberty City Walk photos online, because the red with the black arch, it just looks incredible. It was worth 2 million of my money just to have something that looks this good. Drive-wise, it is really good fun. It has a lot of grip. One thing I was finding earlier in the lap going through the city, there was an awful lot of grip. I hardly ever had to lift off or even brake. It seemed to carry it quite well. It gets a little bit squirrely at times, but as a general rule, it's not a bad drive at all. In fact, it's actually really quite a nice drive. So it's come to finish off. What are the recommendations? I think this has to be one, and I know I keep saying this, but this has to be one where it really depends where you are in the game. If you're really early in the game, there are so many much better things that you could spend $2 million on. Much better. There are cars that are faster, there are cars that are better handling, arguably cars that are better looking. I don't know, this is a particularly pretty thing, but then again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I love 80s stuff. So, if you're early in the game, this might not be one for you. This might be one to leave, especially when you consider that the normal Cheetah, if you want a bit of Miami Vice action, the normal Cheetah is on offer It's on offer as well as on office. It's on offer this week, and that's only a few $100,000. So, if you've got a Cheetah itch to scratch, but not much cash, I would be tempted to go for the normal Cheetah. And if you're a little bit further in the game and you want arguably one of the best looking but possibly least useful cars in the game, I think you could do a lot worse than to put this in your classics garage or your grotty garage, or however you've collected them together. Wherever you put it, it's gonna look absolutely fabulous. And that's it for this one. I'm now off to do a very dangerous review, which will be out shortly. But here's the time we managed to do in the Cheetah. And as you can see, in a 918 for a sports classic, that's not bad. It's not actually bad at all. It's about 10 seconds faster than the Cheetah Classic did. However, that wasn't a particularly clean lap at all, so I wouldn't read too much into that. So for a sports classic, not a bad lap at all. I think a lot of that comes from the handling, from how good the handling is. So I hope that was useful for you. I'll see you in the next one.